Dude, I did all that today. It's not like I'm responsible. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
I do have 3 pages in here. I just didn't translate it to the drive.
Okay. Well, welcome to the Funny Nut Theorios.
Can we explain why you're in a green screen and just setting yourself up for memes?
Ooh, I didn't think about the meme part of it, but I'm here for it. I'm finally home.
Yay!
Are you home? You could be anywhere.
I know, right? No, I got home like 25 minutes ago, 30 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
But we out here, we doing the damn thing. This week's topic is, take it away, Drake.
Blood types.
Why?
And the camera was on you.
It still is, yeah. There we go. Now say it again.
Blood types.
Specifically negative RH blood, right?
Was that? I
Where?
might have missed that.
Are you shitting me?
Go ahead, Drake.
No, I said it. Blood types, specifically RH negative, like Clayton said, and Clayton can explain what all that means.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll probably do some
In a minute. Yeah, need to do some
current events. This one didn't spawn off of anything. So, what did we even do last week?
You know what's funny that you said that? I'm sorry, we'll get there.
Okay. What did we do last week?
Simulation theory, which was
Yeah.
hard to do, right? We discussed it being more like philosophical ideas, but I don't know. We kind of touched on a bunch of stuff in there.
A lot of postulating on like quantum physics.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, go check that out on YouTube and Rumble. Yeah, so Drake, you have a current event topic. Let's just jump into those. I've got a small one as well.
So Jeremy, I sent that link. If you can pull that first one up from the content sharing.
JFK?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, pull that up. So I'm going to read the first few paragraphs.
You kind of blew the load by saying JFK.
Yeah, you just, goddamn, can't do nothing right. So scroll up or down, whatever
top
it is.
Of the article. Sorry, buddy.
No, the other one.
What?
The top
Lee
one.
R. Harl?
Yeah, if you would pull it up, I will read it.
So this is getting back to like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? 3 weeks.
Yeah,
ago?
this is bringing it back for a minute. So.
Right. Was there new information that he was MK Ultra?
You're out of camera, Drake.
I know, that's fine. I'm just saying scroll up. That way I can...
Why are you telling me to scroll up when you need to be telling me to scroll down?
My bad. You're on the wrong one.
Haven't you send?
It should be the first one.
This one right here? I'm in a reader view, so I don't have to deal with all the fucking flash.
Scroll down. Scroll. There you go. Now they can read it. Now you're at it. All right. So now we're all going to read together. I just want everyone to be able to see it.
It is the same words, man.
No, it wasn't showing the Biden administration. Either way, without arguing, the Biden administration declassified a new clue last week to the relationship between Lee Harvey Oswald and the Central Intelligence Agency. Among the intersections between Oswald and the CIA, his time as a young Marine at the, I might mess this up, at Sugi Naval Air Facility in Japan in 1957 is high among them. At Sugi was a launching pad for U-2 spy flights over the Soviet Union and was also a hub of the CIA's research into psychedelic drugs. The CIA memo titled Truth Drugs in Interrogation revealed the agency practice of dosing agents who were marked for dangerous overseas missions, wrote author David Talbot in The Devil's Chessboard in 2015. His biography, the former CIA director, Alan Dulles. And we talked a lot about him back in our...
Okay, wait. I'm reading ahead. I'm sorry.
We'll have to unpack there.
It says, some chroniclers of Oswald's life have suggested that he was one of the young Marines whom the CIA performed his acid tests. So he was about to take a dangerous overseas mission?
He was linked with the Soviet Union.
Okay, because I heard something when we were doing this episode that like one of his buddies who he went to basic or boot camp or was just stationed with said he got called to see like the head guy on base and then came back and said, I'm going to Russia and I'm coming back a hero. And then obviously everything happened, so he never ended up being a hero. But so he that would insinuate that his military career was a little bit illustrious if he was chosen as an agent and then interrogated on acid, right?
And I mean, dude, think about all the stuff he was studying. He was super intelligent. He was a great marksman.
Some people refute that, but I'll give it
all right. Well, I don't know. I don't know him. I never saw him. I don't know. Yeah. They could be right. But yeah, it's just showing that there's details that he was being tested with LSD.
Is this pre MK Ultra? Or this is the height of
1957 is the height of MK Ultra. This is the height of MK Ultra when he was at this air facility in Japan. That was where they were testing people.
Maybe not the height, but this is definitely in the range of the MK Ultra program, right?
1957 sounds early, but that's what it says, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
And, literally, yeah. And so, and what on the other link, the other one, it's showing how the CIA is refusing to give like 4,000 documents. They're like, we're not hiding anything. But so look right there. In 1992, Congress passed a mandate that all documents around the assassination be released. October 2017, Donald Trump was in office and he didn't fucking do it. Joe Biden did do it,
some, but not all of them, right?
He did some, but not all of them. Yeah.
Either way, so President Joe Biden released a whopping 13,000 documents, and the CIA is still refusing to return over the remaining 4,000. So what's in those 4,000 that they're refusing to give over right now?
Well, it says one of them was the psyche eval of Oswald, which seems pertinent, even though they said they didn't release it because it wasn't.
And it wasn't in the Warren report, too.
Sprinkles has zero desire to try LSD.
100%, dude. Don't do it because that's what they test people with, dude. That's the straight up mind control.
I'm not going to tell anybody to do anything, but
I'm not going to tell anybody to do anything either.
College was fun and insightful in many different ways.
Funny Net Theorios just commented, LSD is fucking lit, bruh.
It wasn't me. Who's typing?
I don't know.
It's not J Bones.
My hands are...
It was not me. That was not me.
Okay, so...
Who's controlling this?
It was me.
Being hacked actively.
Tucker Carlson just had a guest on who all but confirmed that the CIA was absolutely involved, right? And he's someone in the know, so it has a little bit of legitimacy behind it.
What guest are you talking about?
Did I make that up?
No, what?
I don't know. I saw.
You don't
a link
remember
and
their specific name?
No, I saw the link and I didn't click it because I had a topic to research, and it was not Tucker Carlson and some JFK thing.
Part of the topic we're supposed to be doing
I really wanted to click it, I didn't.
All right. Anyway,
you put it on me.
I didn't hear this, so this is news to me. This was just something recently that happened.
Yeah, like this week.
I got these links like 2 hours ago.
Oh, dope. These probably stem from that. So
yeah, so like this is today's news. I was like, we got to talk about this shit because even I have a buddy that I see every day, and he talks to me about conspiracies every fucking day, and he didn't talk to me about shit today, so I know he didn't know about this. So this would have been like all we talked about.
Since the last episode, Twitter Files Part 7 has come out, and I think Part 8. I don't think I've read Part 8, and here's all I know about what has been released since. The FBI paid Twitter explicitly $3.5 million to censor what they wanted them to, or for their continued, what is the word? Compliance.
Yeah,
they're working together or whatever. Yeah, so I think that's the only update from there. There's a bunch of it, and
it's nice to see a dollar amount on that. Man,
it's kind of well, and like you can't really act like that's the only dollar amount if the army is buying ads on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Like the government as a whole spends probably a lot of money on Twitter, but there is a receipt for a specific payment for a specific reason from the FBI
for doing specific stuff. Anyways,
like a nudge, hey, thanks. But I don't know. It's hard to dig all the way in, so I'm just like looking at articles, going, "Oh, hey, that's the news. Cool. That's all I have to know, I guess." Which is the wrong thing to do.
Just a few weeks ago, we were talking about how all that stuff was like conspiracy, and now it's coming out, like the JFK episode.
Oh yeah, we got into it in the social media episode, and we did the social media episode because the DHS leaked some files.
Mm-hmm.
And now which is a precursor. More answers.
Yeah, well, it's kind of not really even answers. It's just like receipts.
Receipts, yeah.
I think those articles are saying CIA.
He said, so who is corrupt? The FBI or the CIA or the IRS?
They're all corrupt.
Is all of them. Yes.
All of them.
The DHS.
They're all corrupt. Any three...
It's the DHS and the FBI at this point. With Twitter specifically, but those other people have done the same thing. And I'm sure it's not just Twitter, but until we get files that everyone goes, we already knew that about, we won't know.
Is the DHS...
But we get to say, here's the problem with the Twitter files. Okay, so everyone did know this is what was happening. We had such a strong inclination that the government was working with Twitter that it was common knowledge. And so you start getting receipts and no one gives a fat fuck. They go, this is no news because we already knew that. But it's the receipts. This turns a conspiracy theorist into a person who was on the cutting edge of all the information available to them. Is literally these receipts coming out. So not caring about them is kind of like, what? Why are you just pawning this off? That doesn't make sense to me.
DHS isn't CIA. It's part of the government somehow. Department of Homeland Security, right?
Well, they're both part of the government.
But I mean, it's like a separate entity outside of the CIA. Because I thought originally it was... No, I thought originally it was the CIA was involved, but it's the DHS. It's not the CIA.
Well, and what's coming out in the Twitter files is the FBI.
Mm.
And what we talked about in the social media episode is how the CIA had their own... what are the groups of people that invest in stocks?
Stock traders? Day traders?
In-Q-Tel. They had their own firm that was buying and selling stocks, and they invested heavily in Facebook at the beginning. It doesn't matter. We're going back. Broken Clock is right 2 times a day. Dog, y'all can dog on me all you want, but I just get more and more right as the time goes on. So we'll figure it out, I guess.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I not agree with none of them are not corrupt. Is that what he's saying?
I think he's saying that it's just small factions of any given government agency.
It seems weird that they have the autonomy to go and do that
Twitter's
stuff.
a private company, so it doesn't matter. But the second that Twitter is listening to the government, that goes out the window in my mind. They're listening to our government. They're taking money from our government to do what our government told them to do, and the money they're taking is mine.
Yeah.
And that's not what I want Twitter to do. So at that level, that's bad. But also at the level that they're censoring specific things, not necessarily just like swathing misinformation like they say they are, is ridiculous. Because I don't think you should do either. We had a whole episode. Let's get into the blood shit.
Was it all the current events?
That's all I got. Yeah.
And The Rock got dropped from being Black Adam, so no more.
Man, there's been stuff coming out about him being shady too. Yeah.
Yeah, because he leaked the numbers that were like fake or like not all of them that made it look like Black Adam was successful.
Yeah.
And the studio was like, what the fuck? Who put this out? And then they were like, it must be The Rock. He doesn't want his movies to do bad. So I don't know if there's a bottom to that, but
Process of elimination. No, he quit. Did he quit because he was fired? Superman's not Superman anymore either, or The Witcher. What the fuck is he going to do? Oh, he's going to do Warhammer.
Yeah, 40K.
That's pretty cool. That's actually probably
and
better.
James Gunn said that he was thinking about making Jason Momoa Lobo instead of Aquaman. And Lobo is a much cooler character than Aquaman, so I'm here for it. He's like a space Wolverine, but his weapon is a chain on a hook. He's pretty.
You should just let him do a hard reset. Like, you can use some of the same actors in different roles. Just restart the whole DCU.
Yeah, Black Adam is like the antithesis to Shazam, which was also like a pretty meh fucking movie. I don't know why
in the same universe.
Well, in the comics, they're like mortal enemies. That's why they look so similar.
Interesting.
They're of the same.
I didn't mind Black Adam. I thought it was entertaining, but I mean, there was.
Yeah, I didn't mind Shazam either, but you can't. Iron Man 1 was fucking awesome, and that's the problem that Shazam is having.
Did you read the article? Did you read the article about Tom Cruise pitching? He was pitching to Favreau wanting to be Iron Man. Did you read that?
No. He could have done it.
He flew John Favreau out to like Hawaii where he was doing some kind of like bass jump or something, and was like, "Dude, we're gonna do Iron Man. I want to be in the iron suit. You got to send me across New York City. I have to be in an iron suit, flying through the air for this to work. Like, it has to be real. Like, I want you to get the rights for a nuclear warhead. Right? We're gonna launch that in New York. It's all under control. But this has to be real." And
John Favreau's like, I made Swingers, dude. This is going to be all CGI.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's very crazy. That's pretty funny.
It
would. I feel like it would have worked, though. I feel like Tom Cruise could have done a good Iron Man.
Can y'all pull up the Jason Momoa meme of him mowing? Yeah, do that, Jeremy. And then right after that, we're going to...
Momoa.
While Jeremy pulls that up, the Oppenheimer trailer looks really good that Chris Nolan is putting out.
Yeah. Obviously, Chris Nolan's really good.
Hi, I'm Jason, and this is Momoa. Is that it?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, wait, no. Maybe it's that second on the bottom, or all the way on the right on the second row.
The one that's blown up is hilarious.
Up.
This
up,
one?
bitch. You're going down.
This one?
Up, bitch.
This one is the one I clicked.
That's not Jason Momoa. Never mind.
This is probably the more funnier one. Jason Momoa, Jason Mower. Jason Momoa and Jason and his mower.
No, Ketchup said thank you, so I think we're good. It was the first one. Gotcha.
Yeah, it was the first. It had to be the first one. That was the only funny one.
Hi, I'm Jason. This is Momoa.
All right.
That's pretty great.
So this episode's called what? Bloodlines? No, blood types. We didn't want to do bloodlines.
Yeah, bloodlines gets a little creepy if you start Googling bloodlines.
Sure, we got down there. We're going to go down there.
Oh, no, I found some weird shit. Hey, Rumble is different, just so y'all know. You can find some shit.
Dude, have you been paying attention?
It's like early YouTube. You can just find whatever you want. Type something in. There's some crazy dude talking about it.
Are you using your own personal account, or are you using the Funny
Materials?
God damn it, dude.
That algorithm's going to be fucked up.
No, I'm just saying, like, we're watching probably the same video because it's feeding it. It's just like an infinite feedback loop. We just keep searching the same thing over. I'm not using Rumble. No, fuck Rumble.
I don't know how many blood types koalas have, but I guess we can get into the initial science of it because we had a whole
Where did that question come from?
I don't know.
Catch up.
I know that every koala has syphilis.
What?
Can you explain that?
Every koala has syphilis. And that's all you have to say, because they do. Chlamydia. I'm sorry. Damn, sorry.
Damn, you got it wrong.
Is that a Gatorade beanie?
Oh, this is Georgetown. I'm supporting the industrial military complex right now.
Georgetown,
fucking
Texas?
Asshole.
I've never heard that before.
Oh, no, wait. Hemoglobin determinations on 44 koalas. What does that even fucking mean?
It's G for gay.
What the fuck? Oh, that's so stupid. Why did I laugh at that?
That's weird. Did someone say that? Someone did say that. Okay.
John topped it though. It's
G
sad.
for gape?
It's not sad, but it's
Gaped.
a pretty
I don't even
crazy
know if that's
day
how you
when
spell that.
Sriracha
Why
could be
is-
topped.
Why does fucking chat hate me?
I think it's just
I don't
one
know.
chatter.
Maybe it's G for fucking green, brother.
It's definitely tapped into picky.
That's fine. I'll embrace the hate. I never found an answer to the koala answer or question. If ketchup
Chat
has the
seemed to
answer,
back you
just
up on it though. They all sounded like they knew what you were talking about.
Ray just said John can top me any day.
Bottoms over tops all day. Wait.
No, he's saying give me that top. We need to talk about blood. All right,
We all have it.
like real quick overview. You can have A blood, you can have B blood, you can have AB blood, and you can have O blood. There's 4 blood types. And
There's
then
8.
on top of that,
8.
Negative.
yeah, if I could finish my
You
sentence.
can't say
that'd
there's
be pretty
4 and
cool.
then go,
On
actually
top
there's
of that-
8. Well, actually there's
No,
32.
it's a totally different variable. There's 4 main types, and then there's another variable where they can be positive or negative.
Right.
And all any of these letters mean is that, well, I guess I should go through it. There's proteins on your red blood cells. If you have A blood, you have A proteins. If you have B blood, you have B proteins. If you have AB blood, you have A and B proteins. If you have O blood, you have no protein. Positive and negative works much the same way in that you have D proteins if your blood is positive, and you have no D proteins if your blood is negative. Cool?
Yep. That's how I
Now,
understand it.
Let me say this as
Can
well.
you say all that again?
There are additional blood types that are exceedingly rare. Like 1 in every 10,000 people in India have HH blood. And then there's also an RH null, which is different from RH positive and RH negative, which is just positive and negative. That'll be my next sentence after I finish this idea. And RH null means you don't have the trait for that to be a thing at all. Like it's not a trait to have it or a trait not to have it. It's your DNA does not reflect those traits. From what I understand from the one fucking YouTube video I watched. Anyways, RH positive and RH negative is really Reese's or your Reese amount or whatever. So RH stands for Reese's because they were studying blood in Reese's monkeys. That's when they found that all monkeys have positive blood type and that some humans have negative blood type. There's another word for it, but I don't remember what it was. Like they don't really call it RH anymore if you're an actual scientist.
You're getting
Reese's
proven
in my
wrong.
blood.
You're getting proven wrong in chat. They're saying
Antigens.
Yeah.
And O blood has receptors for both A and B. No, that's incorrect.
Oh,
I think that is correct. Maybe it's just that it can receive both.
No, O blood has no antigens on it, which means that if you're AB and you have antigens, there's nothing for them to attack. That's why O is the universal donor. AB is the only one with A and B. That's why it's called AB.
Oh.
So I know he's in the medical industry, but also he's wrong.
Oh.
And so like
Ketchup.
that's why the
said it
reason
too,
O
though.
negative is the universal donor is because O has no antigens on it and negative has no D antigens on it. So it has no A, no B, and no D. I don't know what the fuck a C antigen is. But so no other blood type will attack an O blood cell. So you can introduce it to that host and its antigens won't attack it because there's no other varying antigens. I just proved you wrong by saying it out loud.
okay. So I knew originally Salsa said it. I was like, I know I read that.
It was originally salsa.
No, there's no receptors. Antigens are just proteins that talk to white blood cells. And
Man, you hate to
they'll-
do it, but the internet is pretty transparent.
Oh, I was right? That's what that says. That's what the internet says. The internet says Clayton is smarter than salsa.
I only listen to people in the lab. Is that supposed to be coats that my government recommended for me to listen to? Sorry.
Oh. And so the complete opposite of O negative.
See, that's
blood,
what I was trying to say. I think the O has receptors for both A and B.
No. There's no receptors for antigens. Antigens move off the red blood cells, tell the white blood cell shit.
I'm sure there's videos for this.
And if your white blood cells don't recognize those antigens on the red blood cells, then they attack and you have an autoimmune response. And that's why you die if you get the wrong blood.
Mm-hmm. I'm not doing this live. We're talking.
All right. Prove me wrong on Discord, I guess. Anyways, AB positive blood can receive blood from anyone, but O negative can give blood to anyone. But O negative has to get O negative blood.
Yeah.
That's why all that works that way.
That's why the way I understood it too.
Yeah, I'm the most correct. Everyone is Googling trying to prove me wrong, and I'mRight.com keeps saying I'm right.
I'mRight.com. Oh my god.
But anyways, that's how blood works generally.
Do you have something queued up in the Watch Me? How do I do that?
My mom was O negative. O negative is not the most rare. Jeremy has a graph of the amount of...
Dude, so that was my
people,
take
but-
on the conspiracy. But you were going to have an argument about that, apparently.
They used to always call her Asim Donut, yeah.
It's often said that despite humanity's many conflicts,
This
we
is
all
very
bleed
shortly
the
into
same
this.
blood
Where's it at?
reported throughout the body,
What are we looking at?
known as antigens, communicate with white blood cells,
You guys can hear this,
immune
right?
cells that protect
Yeah.
against infection. Antigens serve as identifying markers, allowing the immune system to recognize your body's own cells without attacking them as foreign bodies.
This
The
guy
two main
talks
kinds
so
of
slow.
antigens, A and B, determine your blood type. But how do we get 4 blood types from only
Alright,
2
maybe this wasn't what I was
antigens?
Oh,
looking
dog,
for.
you didn't understand this
The
anyway.
antigens
No, this
are
isn't
coded
mine. I was
for
just thinking it
by
was going to
3
explain
different
the
alleles
other stuff.
for-
I mean, this is
I just
relative.
explained it.
Okay, but I was just trying to find some evidence, but no worries.
Okay, let's start this off before we get to the hour.
Okay.
Pose your question to me that we had in the chat.
Oh, we're starting with me?
Yeah, ask your question on the stream so I can explain it to you in person-ish.
Alrighty. I gotta pull up a video, so hang on. I thought it was in there, but it's not. It was your own video. It was the video you sent me in argument to mine. Does that make sense?
No, because you said, say what you said. You said, how come O blood type still exists? Why aren't they all gone? Now
My
explain that.
Basic understanding of genetics. So if it's O negative, it's the recessive gene. Then anytime it comes in contact with an A, it's going to get knocked out. It'll lose that battle. That was
Yeah, but I don't think you understand that even though it loses the battle, it's still the recessive trait in the thing it moved on to.
But eventually you could wing that out, no?
You could if you tried real hard, but
Which
the
is selective
odds-
breeding like we do in dogs.
Yeah, but you also don't know who has the recessive gene and who doesn't. So you might get it wrong over and over and over again. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Because both parents pass on 2 alleles, correct?
Mm-hmm. 30.
So, no, it's 2. There's 3 types of blood alleles, but one parent passes 2 and the other parent passes 2. So
Okay.
if you got an A positive here, it's A, big A, and O here, little o, then every
parent has
where they meet on this path, I really wish I had a dry erase board. It's going to be big A, little o, big A, little o, big A, little o, big A, little o. Those are all A blood types with a recessive O.
if one parent
Mhm.
has
Keep
2
talking.
alleles.
No, he's about to say what I'm trying to explain with words.
Okay, well, this is my principle. So, and complete type A will wipe out type O. Watch. If you don't want to hear it, but it's just this guy has really bad
Since
audio.
A allele is dominant.
He is terrible
Big
audio.
A, little O, new band name called it.
But this right here, so A is dominant and it's coming in contact with O, and O gets wiped out. I guess what you're saying that it's still there recessively.
O is not wiped out at all. It's not wiped out.
It's not
The
reflective.
only way to wipe out O from every one of those kids is they meet a dominant A.
And a recessive allele.
Okay, which would happen over a long period of time.
Type A.
Yeah, but as soon as that happens, that next offspring is probably going to procreate with a recessive O. It's not going to keep finding dominant. You'd have to like breed dominant forever. No one could. If you had a recessive O gene, you wouldn't be able to procreate. And the only way to figure that out is to like map their DNA sequence or find that gene in their DNA and go, no, you have that gene, you can't procreate. So if you're doing that with a population of anything, it's impossible unless you DNA test everyone.
Okay.
Because you can't tell if someone with brown eyes has two dominant brown eye genes or a dominant brown eye and a recessive blue eye. You have no idea unless you map their genes, right?
Your example was blue eyes. You were using as an analog, right?
I mean, we could use blood. It's the same thing.
That's what I was trying to say. It's the same mechanisms driving blue eyes for blah, 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 blah. Would you say that the blue eyes are in the minority, right? There's fewer people with blue eyes.
Okay, well, there's a reason why.
Okay.
But if you want to finish your explanation, I'll let you know.
My understanding of the reason why there's fewer people with blue eyes is because it's a recessive trait.
Yes.
So
It requires
more
two
often
recessive.
than not, you end up with people with other color eyes other than blue. The
Mhm.
only way you could get blue is if a blue and a blue get together and have blue.
No.
I'm sorry, if you get a dad with green eyes that has a blue recessive trait with a mom that has blue eyes, then you might get green eyes.
No.
Blue eyes. That's what my parents did. So that was just one example.
No. You could have two parents with dominant brown eyes, two people with brown eyes, and a
But they
recessive blue
carry
eye
a
trait.
recessive blue
Your
trait.
fourth kid is going to have blue eyes from two brown eyed people.
Yes.
Okay.
But that is reflected in the population. There are more people with multicolor eyes than blue eyes. Okay? I understand that. That makes complete sense to me, and that is my whole hinged argument.
I understand, and I'm going to tell
When
you
you
why
look
it's
at
wrong.
blood types,
Just say
it's
the
the
next sentence.
complete opposite. You have way more people with O, which is the recessive one, than there are other ones. The ones that are
Right.
more dominant get rarer and rarer. That's the part I don't understand.
Okay. So in eyes, brown is dominant, and every other color is recessive.
Got it.
There's a bunch of recessives, and they're hard to get because there's also a bunch of brown eyes. In blood, there's two dominants in the same recessive throughout all of them. So if you have a recessive blood gene, it's O. So there's like a 50-50 shot if you have recessive or dominant, and that's bore out in the percentages. If it's 50-50 that you catch a recessive or a dominant gene at all, then it's only whatever 50 divided by 3 is that you're A, but it's 50% that you're O because that's the only recessive. That's why that makes sense.
It's not 50-50. Why are you saying it's 50-50?
It might not be 50-50, but it's
I'm
not.
saying it's like 75-25.
No, it's absolutely not.
Not the population. I'm saying the odds of the recessive winning. It's 3 out of 4.
No,
You're saying it's
only-
50-50?
It's only 3 out of 4 if both are recessive. But if one's recessive and one is recessive, like one's AO and one's OO, they're 3 out of 5. They're having a O.
That would be the
Or 3 out of
dominant.
4.
That would mean it wouldn't be dominant, and that's what I don't understand.
No, it's just more. It's just often. It just in that couple, there's an A with a recessive O and 2 recessive O's. Then there's an AO, an AO, an OO, and OO. It's 50-50 if they're O or A.
I gotta catch up with chat. I'm sorry. Damn, you guys are going
But
off.
if every couple that is having 4 kids is having one that's an O,
Okay.
and it's not every because there are some dominant, but AB is very low, and it's occurrence.
What about how RH negative is the whole point of this show.
Well, yeah, but we're trying to.
That's kind of what I was trying to say. Is it all depends on this?
O's at all.
That's why I'm having this conversation about genetics, because the way I'm understanding it is that O would eventually get like further and further away from being the most popular. At the understanding of the argument, it should be the least popular. I mean, not popular, the least populated. And I was talking with Sasa Joel earlier that the newer countries have higher percentages of O's than the older countries.
The newer countries. What does that mean?
The younger the country is, the more you have O's. And the older the country is, you have more. But
countries don't really determine the amount of people that have been there for any amount of time. So I don't understand what you mean by that.
I tie it back to ancient civilizations. And
what is the new country that you're talking about? What country is new?
So the old New World, that was the expression we're using with Graham Hancock and stuff like that. Peru, there's the top 3 O positive populated countries are all lower. I'm sorry, I had it backwards.
They're all old. It's like France, Morocco, and something else. They're all around that area.
You have to flip the old and New World. And the example I'm giving. The New World is Europe and all that.
The New World is Europe.
No, it'd be America.
In the ancient civilization narrative, the New World was... I'm going to stop. It doesn't matter.
Oh, you're talking about like Göbekli Tepe.
Yes, you have to reverse
those
it, right?
Ancient sites where civilization restarted is what you're saying. Right?
The older countries... Why are you texting me and not just putting it in chat? Jesus. Now to stop what I'm doing.
Hang on, what was the point?
The newer countries. The older the country, the higher the O blood people.
Yes. That's true.
Okay.
Generally.
I don't remember why that was relative.
Because like the highest frequency of negative blood is in Morocco and France. It's in like 2 specific tribes. It's the Berbers and the Basques.
Yeah, Basque.
The Berbers have been in northern Africa from the west of Egypt to the Atlantic coast since like before history. The Egyptians talked about them. They were like nomadic for a long time. The Egyptians drew them as like pale, tattooed, brown-haired people, which for northern Africa is not like per the course of what one would think, especially if you're talking about Egyptians. They all have a Middle Eastern look, a Northern African look. But so the Berbers don't really fit that, and their history goes back so far, but they were like tribal nomadic people that it was all oral until they adopted Islam, which was like thousands of years later. But the Basques are like a super weird group of people that live in the mountains between France and Spain. Their language is not anything from like Europe to almost Asia. Their language doesn't fit with where they are, and they're not of Latin descent, or like they're not genetically connected to anyone around them. They're like an isolated group in this real small spot. That's why they're so weird. And that there's like no one really knows where they came from. So if you start getting into conspiracy theories, people say they're the lost Atlanteans. They found a mountain when the world was flooded and they lived there. Either that or like, I don't know, people are saying like any origin that you can think of, since they don't have one, gets applied to them. But they have a 50% rate of having O blood, and they have a 33% rate of having negative blood, RH negative blood. So they have like a really high rate of negative blood, and they're really old, and they're kind of secluded off in this weird spot. So they're an interesting, like maybe they're the origin of negative blood generally. Look at that. We got some wasabis in there.
Did you
get
some
fortune cookies?
Did that tie you into the Da Vinci Code at all?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
We're definitely gonna dude.
See, this is why I felt really sketchy about looking up a lot of this stuff, man.
No, I'm dick deep in royal bloodlines.
Hang on. You are on the same vein I am, and what I was trying to touch on with the O positive stuff in the scenario of the Graham Hancocks with the population reset, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I was sticking on the O being wiped out, like being the recessive gene, like over time losing out, being the minority. I'm thinking 10,000 years ago when Graham Hancock says that civilization got reset, it was repopulated by O people. And that's why there's so many more O's, and they're slowly dwindling down over time. And then you get another 12,000 year reset of where the aliens come out from underground.
I don't apply that thought to O. I apply that thought to negative. And
maybe I look at it wrong. Yeah. No,
I think negative at 15% is at its statistical like minimum.
The most recessive is O negative. Yes.
Yeah. And so like take the A, B, and O out of it. I'm talking about positive or negative. I think 15% negative is like mathematically it's been long enough for it to go from 100 to like where it's stable as a recessive gene, because it's almost like
that's the homogeneous I was talking about.
Yeah, and it almost seems like positive was a mutation on negative because you're adding something. It would be weird to have a mutation. I guess it wouldn't be weird to have it not there, but if Drake, I'm gonna hand it off to you, because if we, what is that noise?
I muted it, I thought. Sorry.
Watch it go explain. Sorry.
It's muted on Iron.
We evolved from monkeys. Stop playing it. We evolved from monkeys. No monkeys have negative blood at all. They're all Rh positive. Every ape is A, B, B, and O positive. Not all of them together, but you understand what I'm saying. And so if we evolve from them, then you would think that the negative is a mutation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the positive is the mutation. Does that sound weird?
So,
this doesn't sound weird.
What I was going to say a second ago, you can't mutate Rh blood because
really?
you can't clone it. That's what I was learning earlier. Is like you can't clone it, and compared to like cloning dogs and
negative blood.
Yes, Rh negative blood. That's what I was saying. So, and a second ago you were saying you would mutate it, but if scientists can't clone it and they can't understand that side of it, that means they can't mutate it.
Well, the mutation would happen naturally, but the reason to not believe that is because there's like, they explain strands of DNA in the amount of letters it takes for something to happen, which really means it's the amount of like alleles that need to be different on a chain of DNA. Genetics is really fucking weird. It's kind of like explaining quantum mechanics, but biologically. So anyways, mutating like A, B, or O, or B, and by maybe not even by mutating, but expressing that in DNA form is something like 10,000 letters. But doing that to positive or negative is like 58,000. Like it's hard. It's more rare for that to happen. It's harder to do. So it doesn't really make sense that you would mutate to be accepted by every blood type. Does that make sense too? Like, because if you're A negative, you can donate to A positive, but if you're A positive, you cannot give to A negative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like negatives are givers, and positives can't give to negatives. And so it would be weird to mutate, logically speaking. Obviously, I'm not a geneticist, but it would be weird to mutate to make it easier to trade blood back and forth.
And also, I was reading earlier. Fuck, where did I put it? So, where did it go? Oh, okay, yeah. So, like women that are that have Rh negative blood can only be with a man to have a baby that has Rh positive blood. And from what I was seeing is a lot of women, if you are trying to get pregnant and you have Rh negative blood, it's showing that Rh protein Where did it
The
go?
D protein.
Her body is trying to destroy that anti-RH antibody because it's trying to attack the fetus's blood cells because it's thinking that
it doesn't recognize
it doesn't recognize the protein. Thank you. Sorry.
It doesn't recognize the D protein, so it attacks it. And what's interesting about that specifically is it's the first pregnancy, it writes it into memory, and the second pregnancy, it attacks. But
okay, I didn't see that.
I have some crazy firsthand knowledge about this. My wife is Rh negative. I don't know what the letters are, but she is negative blood. And here I have her date of injection card for the RhoGAM shot, which is what Rh negative women have to take when they get pregnant. And it's so like accepted or the norm in a doctor's office these days. They didn't ask me if I was positive or negative, and I wouldn't fucking know to tell them. They just went, "You're negative? Cool, we're going to give you this shot at a certain point in time." Which is like kind of crazy to think about. But
I did read that too. They had to get the shot.
That kind of lends to it doesn't make sense that you would mutate that. It doesn't make sense that you would, for strictly reproductive reasons, turn into someone who could not accept fetuses of different blood types, right? It would make more sense that you would develop a blood type that isn't accepted by the original. And I'm using logical arguments now, and when we get into the woo-woo shit, I'll explain why I think it's the original, actually. And by saying I think, that's strongly worded. From what I've looked at in the dark recesses of the internet.
Reese's?
Yeah.
Crevices?
At 27 weeks and then 72 hours before birth, you have to get that
shot.
Yeah, the RhoGAM. Which is crazy to think about. Like there's 15% of the population, women being 50% roughly. I think it's actually 51, but whatever. We'll say half of 15 is 7.5. 7.5% of the population can't reproduce with whatever 85 divided by 2 is. 42.5.
That's pretty wild.
Like to be a woman and know you have negative blood is like, you just know you're going to have a little bit more difficult pregnancy. But back in the day, it meant like you're just going to fail over and over and not know why. Because they did anyone find the date for when they figured out what? Because they were doing like xeno.
Oh, I got some notes on that. Yeah,
I think they found Rh negative in like the 70s, right?
I think so, but I think blood types didn't even come up till like the 1800s or something. Like up until the 1800s, they were like, "We'll just put sheep blood in you," and then people were dying, and they were going, "What's going on?"
Jeremy, I'm not talking.
Maybe it wasn't the 70s, but my mom was O negative. She got pregnant 5 times.
Do you know?
Damn.
All of your siblings' blood types? Probably not.
Yeah, right? Or all of the potential fathers or whatever.
No, that's pretty crazy stuff. For sure. I did stumble upon some of the RH or negative, the positive stuff, but it's crazy that you have firsthand experience of it.
Well, yeah, Jason's mom is pretty crazy too.
Got pregnant 5 times.
And so
do
that's
y'all know your
leading,
blood types? Should we all divulge that?
What's weird is that in developed countries, you tend to not know. And the reason is because they can test you whenever something happens. But if you're in a low-income country and there's like not a lot, like because if you go to the hospital because you lost too much blood, they have a bag of O negative, and they're going to give you O negative, and then they're going to test you, and then they're going to give you the right blood. I guess if you're a Basque, you got a 50% shot, you're going to be fine.
What are you doing in America? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, like if you're with the Basques in between France and Spain at some hospital in the middle of the mountains, They're like, oh, almost everything is negative. Don't worry about it. And half of it's O. So, like, there's a pretty good shot. We don't even label this shit. But in underdeveloped countries, they have to give you a test before they give you a blood transfusion.
Yeah, I don't know mine.
I didn't know mine before
You
today.
can test it on the spot.
You know yours now?
I know mine now, yeah.
What you got? Hang on, let me guess.
HIV positive.
It's
No, A positive.
You think I'm A positive?
Yeah.
You are
Did you all
A
get into the
positive.
Japan stuff, thinking the blood types define your personalities?
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of astrology.
And
But-
that's you landed on A negative. What was it? A positive?
Yeah, you're probably right, because A means you're like organized.
I am O negative, I believe. I've got my information right.
You're a universal donor?
Universal donor, but I can't receive from anybody other than myself.
Right. Damn, this is going to get interesting when we get into the
It's weird.
historical implications of that. That's interesting.
Feels
I
weird.
have no idea. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, I'm going back to it. I don't give a shit. If a B parent, it has no recessive blood. If it's all straight B and they come in contact with an O, it wipes the O out. When I say it wipes the O out, each one of their kids is B with the O recessive. I understand that part.
That
But
is
more
correct.
times than not, I mean, their kids are all B. They're not O. They're B.
Right. I agree. Okay, now
Even though it's
listen.
recessive, it's in there. I get that it's part of the sequence of blah blah blah. I get that, but
How
it's
common do you think B dominant is? It's as rare as like
why is it
AB.
rare if it wins 4 times out of 4?
because the second that offspring has a kid, it's probably also recessive.
I
It is more
understand.
common to have a dominant and a recessive.
I understand that there's more O's, and that's why I'm asking. Why is there more O's if the O's lose?
Because it's the only recessive gene. And it is exceedingly rare to have dominant B's, dominant A's, or an AB. Look at that list that you had. Let's bring that up. ABs are the lowest on the list. Do you know why? Because it requires an AA positive person and an A or a BB positive person. And they only make ABs. So ABs are hard to make. In every other equation, there's O's. And that recessive gene lives on. So in 43% of the population, it's going to hit O. That's why it makes sense.
I'm saying, how long would that run before the recessive dies out?
That recessive will never die out because it's the only recessive. It's recessive because how your genes treat it, not because how often it shows itself.
It's not the only recessive. It's the only recessive that's recessive to all of them. B is recessive to A, no?
No, A
Yes.
and B are co-dominant.
No, A will dominate B. That's why it's called A.
Only if they're like both recessive, or if A is dominant and B is B.
If you get
O.
AA, it's going to be A. I mean, if you get AA and then you get AB, you're going to get A. A is dominant. That's why it's A, alpha. And then you get B because it's second in line of hierarchy.
Okay.
So in my mind, over evolution of a species, you would get homogeneous where the A's would win out over and over and over again. Yes, you have recessive genes that are built in that would occasionally pop out.
There's no reason to think that because you're not understanding the second generation of the statistics.
I get that the gene is still represented, but when you're labeling it type A, type B, it's still type A, type B. You don't label it, oh, it's type A plus you have a recessive gene in there that's O. You would give them
That is
type A
exactly
blood,
how you-
but you wouldn't give them type O blood. You would
No,
give
you
them type
wouldn't.
O.
You would give them type
You
A
would give
because they
them type O
because
too.
they- oh yeah, you would. But they have both still. They're passing on both of those. And so dominant people are exceedingly rare, either AA, BB, or AB. They're hard to find. I bet AA is the same amount as AB.
I get that they're hard to find. I'm conceding that completely. But
So
I'm
most
saying
people have the recessive gene.
in the
and
wild, when they
you're
meet.
assuming that only dominant people are procreating with other dominant people.
Not
when they
intentional.
have no idea if that's happening.
I don't think, there's no design to it. I'm not
It's
saying anybody's
less
out there
than-
actively doing this. I'm drawing a
It's-
hard line. I'm not promoting it. I don't think anybody's doing it. It's
But
running
the
wild.
the second those two dominant people have a baby
Uh-huh.
and they have no O recessive trait,
Mm-hmm.
Chill.
there is literally no guarantee at all in the world that they won't procreate with someone with an O recessive gene that will carry on. That's why it's so high. Because their statistics start over with the next generation. And if it's a 2% chance you're AA, a 2% chance you're BB, and a 2% chance you're AB and OO, then 92% is you have a recessive O gene. And it's probably 5, 5, and 5, so it's really like an 80% chance you have an O gene.
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
That's
That's why it's so high.
I get that it's carried from
Because
generation.
it's the only option.
I'm saying on the odds of it winning out. I get that it's not disappear. It doesn't exit the equation. I get it's always going to be a part of the equation. It's always going to be recessive on the tail end. And when you run hundreds of thousands of them, every so often you're going to get a recessive, and you end up with the recessive. So it's always represented. I get that, right? No argument there. My question is, why is it the majority? And I didn't find a chart, but me and Joel, that's what we were going down. I want to find a chart that has O negative declining over a course of however many years.
Oh, like blood types over the
Jesus
over a time
Christ, that's
span?
my whole argument.
No, I understand
over
your
time,
argument,
the
but I don't-
homogeneous would cancel out, and you would at
it
least
would ever
see a
do that.
decline, and you would get the flip where the dominants are represented like you do with the blue eyes example.
My assumption is that we're 8,000 years along minimum.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is like
And
you
that
got
we're-
a population
we're at a-
reset with
No,
those.
we're at the statistical normal of every blood type. Because we've gone from 70,000 to 7 billion. 7 billion is the largest sample size you could ask for.
Okay. But you're saying a recessive gene. Okay. The example was the blue eyes. The blue eyes are in the minority of
Blue
people.
eyes, white dragon.
Are in the
Yeah.
they're in the minority. I'm just saying that. They're the recessive gene, so it's reflected in the minority population. That same principle holds true to O people for me.
But they're in the minority in 3 different categories. They're 25% of 3 categories.
They
So
are
there's
the
75%
most
of
populous
blood
people.
total.
They're the most populous people. The more
Yeah,
people
okay.
have O.
Because there's 75% of representation. They have
why-
a quarter representation in every blood chart you can make.
So at some point there were more people with blue eyes. There would be more people with blue eyes than there were any other color eyes. Is that what you're saying?
If there were no other recessive eye traits, yes, then 50% of the world would be blue-eyed. Or what's 37 plus 6.6? 38 plus 6, 44.
Ketchup said green eyes are the smallest minority. I have green eyes.
Green eyes. I think
That's
are
almost
smaller. But green eyes take blue eyes to mate.
Gold is actually the lowest majority. It's very rare. Actually, the lowest is where you have 2 different color eyes, like a husky.
What do they call
I
it?
want,
My dog has
Video.
2 different colored eyes.
I don't remember what they call that. But like as an example, the only person I know in my entire family tree within 2 generations of me that has hazel eyes is my great grandmother, which means she passed a recessive trait down twice
Diochromatic. Thank you, Ketchup.
because recessive traits are so abundant that no one else with brown eyes met another brown-eyed person. Hell yeah, Hazel for the win. It's the best.
I think we're all biased on our own.
Yeah, you gotta be.
All right, so we're at the hour mark, so we need to start getting into the weird shit and take a break if y'all want to. I'm fine. It doesn't matter to me.
I'm gonna run to the potty for sure.
We can take a break and then get back on. Or we can start on the royal bloodline and get into all the crazy conspiracy shit.
Yeah, let's do that.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
We're back.
All right, we're back, and I'm going to reiterate my last argument with one concise sentence
Cool.
to prove the point. To just bring it home.
Do it.
If you the amount of variations should represent themselves in the statistics of how prevalent they are. So if you look at them all total, you have AA dominant, BB dominant, AB. You have AO, you have BO, and you have OO. O is in half of the variations.
Mm-hmm.
So wouldn't it make sense for it to bear itself out in a little less than half of people because it is recessive? But it's in half minimum of people.
I don't think I was ever arguing against it being it's being a part of the majority of the population. I understand that the majority of the population is carrying a recessive O gene because it's the only recessive O gene.
Right.
It's the only recessive gene. I'm sorry. I get that argument. But I'm saying for an O child to be produced, like the odds are way more against it. Right?
I don't think so because I think you're applying attrition and there is none.
If an A with a recessive O comes in contact with with a B recessive O,
it's 1 in 4.
1 in 4 is going to be an O.
Yeah.
Why is that equation, that proportion, not reflected in large populations?
Because of the amount of times O is the answer in all the equations, that's borne out in the statistics.
I don't know if I agree with it. I mean, I understand everything you're saying. I'm not arguing.
Because O is involved in half of the equations.
I get it's there. It's there. It's going to be used more times than anything else. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes up against these other two options, it loses out.
1 in 4 times, yeah.
3 and 4 times.
3 and 4 times, yes.
So to me, that would mean that 25% should be O, and 75% should be all other.
Okay, I'm going to leave us on Ketchup's argument, and then we're going to move on. Because A is dominant, that means your mother should carry a hidden O.
Yep.
If she does, then when she gets pregnant, each child has a 50% chance of getting her dominant and a 50% chance of getting her recessive. I don't think that's right. If a child gets the O from mom and O from the dad, he or she will have O blood. That is right. I think this says Clayton is correct because he qualified it with I'm right. So I think he's right too.
I get that there's some fundamental misunderstanding.
What a shill.
And I fully
Just
admit
wanna
that.
be right.
I'm not claiming to be some kind of source on anything like that. It does seem like a disparity to me. Disparity? What the fuck? Conspiracy? That was what I was leaning toward, is like, why would there be more O's? And then I started going down that rabbit hole of going like, wait a minute, maybe it makes sense that at one point there were more O's, like what you were saying, and just...
The statistics haven't leveled out yet. I understand your argument. I just think you're wrong. So let's move on because you think I'm wrong. It doesn't really even matter.
I don't think you're wrong. I think there's some like connection we hadn't made yet where you're going to go, oh, I see what you're saying.
Regardless, let's move on.
Yeah.
So we said that RH comes from the rhesus monkey, correct? And all monkeys have positive DNA. And so the 15% of the population, this is where the conspiracy starts. People... And I don't know how scientific, probably not at all. But people attribute attributes to people with Rh negative blood. And I have a list of them. I'm going to read them off. I don't necessarily believe it, but I'm just going to read them.
Do you have something you want
No,
to share?
it's all on the outline. I'm just going to read it out. So higher IQs, which is the most controversial, so I put it first. Lower resting heart rate, lower blood pressure, extra vertebrae, sun sensitive, and by extra I mean one extra, not like you have a crazy bone back. Sun sensitivities, naturally cooler resting body temperatures, psychic and metaphysical sensitivities, red or blonde hair, blue, green, and hazel eyes. So all of those are kind of attributed more towards people with negative blood types. But,
I'm going to allow this, but I'm not sure.
None of that is scientific.
Oh, wait, that's shrooms. My bad. less likely to get AIDS too. I read that wrong. My bad.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's something interesting that I read about. There's a theory that sub-Saharan Africa met, because we know that humans intermingled with Neanderthals, and there's arguments about more different variations of humanoid. And one of those arguments is that sub-Saharan Africa intermingled with a yet to be discovered humanoid, maybe not Neanderthal, maybe not. I know they found like dwarf-like people on islands and stuff, so something of that nature, something we haven't found that is almost human but not quite. It's not the full human we've met. God, I'm trying to explain it so it sounds better.
Dude, it's impossible.
It's a ghost population. I'm not attributing any attributes.
I already know what you're talking about, and we
population.
haven't even like done it yet. So like, you're okay,
but
man.
It's because they're susceptible to malaria and sickle cell anemia. They think that's where that comes from. I'm saying they're not reputable. But there are people that think sickle cell anemia was a evolutionary advancement to fight off malaria. Like, it was a mutation in the blood that unfortunately ends up with sickle cell anemia, but it was so you wouldn't get malaria. Does that make sense? And that's why they think there was a different population of people, because there's a genetic line in North Africa and South Africa as far as like ancient peoples, and sub-Saharan Africa being like still kind of a mystery. There's not a lot of money down there.
They say you also have like an extra rib.
Go digging up rocks.
Extra
For
vertebrae.
RH, I've heard that.
Yeah, for RH, and that kind of
That blows my
gets
mind.
real biblical. That gets real biblical.
That there's.
Well, even the extra vertebrae gets biblical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think half the conspiracy behind RH negative blood is people reading the Bible and reading into the Bible. Like,
They say Jesus had it. They say Tesla had it.
I mean, so do y'all want to go down the Nephilim route, or do y'all want to go down the royal bloodline route?
I want to go down
Because
both.
they're both based out of the Bible, but they're like not the same thing. They're different.
I'll lean more toward the first one. I don't know why.
Let's try to do both.
Okay, so the Nephilim. Let's drive down the Nephilim
Let's get
route.
into this. An hour and 12 minutes into.
Yeah, no shit. In Genesis 6, verse 1 through 4, it said, the sons of God saw daughters of men and took these daughters as wives and married them. And there's basically like three interpretations of it, being that it's either the godly line of Seth, the son of Adam and Eve, after Cain and Abel or whatever. And that theory even goes further in that the word Nephilim is confusing. So it translates to either the fallen ones or giants. But everyone thinks it's like giants.
For sure, giants.
But also it's giants and fallen ones. None of it makes any sense. So keep going. They think the fallen ones were did Cain kill Abel?
Yes.
They think, because Cain wandered in the woods in the Bible, so they think that that's the fallen ones, and that sons of man or
Did you
sons
skip
of
Seth?
God.
I feel like you skipped Seth.
No, I'm getting back to it. So they think sons of God is the offspring of Seth, and that whatever the other one, the daughters of men, was Cain's tribe. Because of God, you would assume it's a little bit more righteous. I don't think that one's true at all, and I'm going to move on from it and never talk about it again because I stumbled through it anyways. Second one is sons of God. 5 different times in the Bible refers to angels specifically. Normally, when it's phrased sons of God, it's talking about angels. There are fatherly son relationships in the Bible. It abounds, obviously, but it's never phrased the sons of God, if that makes sense. So the phrase specifically in word form. The Bible is very cryptic in that it's phrased the same way when it means the same thing. Like almost every sentence begins with "and," unless it's talking about the last sentence or it's a totally different paragraph. But like within paragraphs, it'll be like, "and this guy, and this guy, and this happened." And, like it's and. Doesn't matter. And then the third theory that the Nephilim are, I like this
from the Anunnaki.
They're the sons and daughters of angels and humans commingling, and there's a lot of scripture about that, and that also is pretty prevalent in conversations like we already had in ancient Civ, like the Sumerians and the Anunnaki. You can even go as far to say as the Greeks reanalogized it into Hercules and Zeus. Or
why is the Pantheon called Pantheon?
any demigod. Huh?
Why was the Pantheon called Pantheon?
I don't know, because it had pants for eons.
One conspiracy I saw was like the Anunnaki had they took earthly wives, and when they breeded with them, that's what created the Rh negative blood.
We're talking about aliens, just to be clear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the Sumerians are talking about aliens, but the Bible is like the exact
Bible's talking
same
about
analog.
aliens too.
And no, it's an analogous story, but it calls aliens angels.
They do,
so,
but
if you're heavily invested in Christianity, you don't think it's the Sumerian aliens. You think it's the angels of the Bible. But if you're agnostic, you think it's probably the Anunnaki and the Sumerians. But if you're like me, and I'm just looking at all of them, it's all the same story, and none of it is related to anything they actually wrote down. It's all allegories, because language grew out of storytelling. And so the first instances of language is probably telling a story, not
100%.
necessarily writing exactly what had happened down. They're not taking notes. They're writing their truths in a fantastical magic story so people can remember the story, because they still haven't invented the printing press. It's not like everyone's going to read this.
No, I was
But they
saying.
can retell the story.
No, you go ahead. I was saying before that etymology would be a cool field of study, just to figure out the origins of words and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you can actually trace
Catch and spin to the Pantheon? That's pretty badass, dude.
You can trace people anthropologically by language, which is interesting.
We've said it. This is probably the 5th episode I've said it on, but I wish I would have went back. I mean, you still can do it, but to be an anthropologist, I don't know. It'd be really interesting. Really interesting field of study. And I feel like such a nerd saying it if I went back to like 18 to 16-year-old Jeremy and be like, hey, you should be an anthropologist. And you'd be like, go fuck yourself.
No, because I was going to be an archaeologist, and they told me all I was going to do was dig, and I didn't think.
Does that not make you feel like
maybe I should look at the cultures, not the ground?
Does that not make you feel like the Graham Hanstock stuff is real? Like there's some kind of suppression of? I'm going way off. I'm sorry.
No. So eventually, this topic goes back into that through line that everything is just repeating. So the Nephilim in the Bible. A lot of people think they're giants, and they're giants because it was angels and women having kids, and so that's kind of the biblical through line. In Job 38, when God created the world, sons of God sang for joy. That means the sons of God are really angels. And in the book of Daniel, when the king looked into the furnace and he saw 4 people, one looked like a son of God. It was phrased that way because one of them looked like an angel. And so the theory behind that one is that the RH comes from angels and people procreating. And there's a lot of talk about fallen angels, and there's one specific verse that I didn't write down, but it very specifically was these angels left their post because they got lustful for flesh. And you're like, oh, okay. I think you're talking about the Nephilim again. And then if you dig even deeper, the Nephilim were the sons of Anak, and they lived in Hebron. So if you go look at every verse that says Anak or every verse that says Hebron, they're still talking about the Nephilim. It's probably like 16 different spots in the Bible. It talks about Nephilim or Hebron or sons of Anak or fallen angels who lusted after mortal women, shit like that. So I haven't done a Bible study in a while.
Do you feel like as a kid...
I did. It got weird.
Do you feel like as a kid, if your parents or the community approached you as, hey, it's not like Bible study or anything, it's like, hey, this is a history lesson on aliens, do you think you would have been like, oh, okay?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
that's crazy to think, like religion is just a study of some interaction with some alien entity, right? Is that not all?
No, when I look at the Bible to study anthropologically,
it's crazy, dude.
I'm way more fucking interested. I've read it like twice.
Did you see the new Pinocchio?
But now I'm interested. No, I didn't.
The
Bible study.
The fairy that's supposed to come down and give Pinocchio life and all that is it's like a direct representation of the biblical descriptions of angels.
Christ.
Of angels.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm gonna hit my next point and just kind of keep rolling and take over the session. So that was the explanation of Nephilim, but here's the reason people believe what I'm about to tell you they believe. In the south of France, going kind of back to the Basque people that we spoke of earlier, the group of people in between Spain and France in the mountain that no one has really an ancestral trace for, and also another offshoot Bible story. The south of France is the highest percentage of negative blood types. Not O, but negative in general. And like the Berber people are in Morocco, which is just across the ocean from France as far as Africa and Europe are related. And so kind of that whole little cradle of earth area, based in the central sections of it, like Carthage and the south of France, the south of Italy, just that hub has the highest amount of negative Rh blood. Now here's the explanation that will tie it into the royal families, and then we're diving off the deep board. But the story is that the way that Rh negative blood gets to the south of France through Mary Magdalene, and it's the story where she had Jesus' kid, and Rh negative O blood being the universal donor in this context seems like the original blood, if it is allowed to be taken by everybody, or it has no mutation or polypeptides or proteins at all. You would imagine that that's what started everything. So some people think Jesus made it down there with her. I'm not going to get super far into that. Oh, actually, they think that he went with her in the 300 AD or BC. They rewrote the story and made him seem more like the myths of Egypt, and like Buddha was born of a virgin. And I think the Romans even existed. I don't know what their deities had to do with it, but they like reformed the idea of Jesus when before that he had lived and had moved to the south of France to not be persecuted again, not get re-crucified or whatever. And so that the south of France is the origin of Rh negative blood type, O negative blood type, through Jesus Christ himself, and it spread from there.
What was the last bit? The O negative?
Came from Jesus. And the story past, like, they're saying that pre-300 AD, Jesus lived and died. The crucifixion story happened, but he didn't die. He rolled the rock away and took Mary Magdalene in the south of France, and they had kids. And that he was actually, he fulfilled Jewish prophecy by taking David's kingdom from the Old Testament and continuing it. And they think the royal bloodlines this is, and this is all so deep in the internet, but I'm just going to finish it. They think that they are of Jesus's blood, that O negative, if we can trace it back all the way is from Jesus because they are saying they can trace their bloodline back to Ramses in Egypt.
How did you get to O negative again? I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is specifically O. When you start getting into it's Jesus's blood, it's O negative blood. And they're saying they are going back to Ramses, who's the white redheaded pharaoh in Egypt,
which was Moses.
No, Ramses. Oh, is Ramses Moses?
They were brothers.
No shit.
Did you not know the story? Not Moses. Yes, Moses. Moses and Ramses were brothers. You didn't know this?
No.
Oh my God, dude. You need to refresh on your Bible stories.
Yeah, I should go read it again. I'm not gonna read it again.
It's you're blowing my mind. I'm just saying, like, fuel for the fire, right?
Yeah.
Moses and Ramses are brothers.
Well, and so that's
not
kind
biological brothers. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There would have been no mix of blood. My bad.
But regardless, this is the reason people attribute royal families for intermarrying over and over and over again, is because they think their blood is literally sacred.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I told you last week I'm reading this book.
They are divined to be king because
it's like the Holy Grail, like you said, Jesus' blood.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole... Exactly. Okay, go to Google Translate right this second, please.
But what's crazy to me, like, I'm not trying to say Jesus was like crazy or anything, but he's kind of cannibalistic, right?
No, the blood of man, or like the...
I feel like a lot of them were
my
cannibalistic.
body is bread or whatever. Go from Latin to English, and I'll tell you what to type.
Because before Jesus was sacrificed, they were sacrificing animals and using that blood and treating that like blood was holy, it was sacred.
What are you asking?
And you're shedding that lamb or that whatever in order to get that blood.
Switch the languages. Now type SANGREAL, no space.
SAN
GREAL. EAL.
Yeah. Sangria.
Okay, it goes from bleeding to bloody.
Yeah.
Now put a space in the N and the G.
That's pretty crazy.
That's not fucking nuts. That's like a small mistranslation from that being like a bloodline or the blood of someone to the Holy Grail.
No, it's... You finish your point because I got not a counterpoint, but a tangent. Not a tangent, but just go ahead.
Okay, I think I got through most all of it. That's the reason for the intermarrying and the kings and queens. There's a certain section that I didn't really pay much attention to, and that the Vatican was fighting against them the whole time and trying to take over and put the rock that's mentioned in the Bible in which the church will be built upon into Italy. But it's supposed to be in Israel, and Jesus said who was going to lead, and those people had negative blood. Oh, the last tangent is how many presidents are related to kings and queens of like Britain and France and Europe and stuff.
It's like all of them to Truman, right?
No, to Clinton, to Trump.
God damn it, dude. So, God, all of the European families
I saw didn't
like...
have Biden, but all the way to Trump.
I heard there was one that wasn't part of it, so I guess that makes it Biden.
Is it Kennedy?
No, it might be Kennedy, and they may have glossed over that. I have a video for that actually, but I was trying to get.
I had one too.
Jeremy's point before we dive off that. The next high dive.
Because I said I had a tangent.
You were gonna go off.
Is that as far as you went? Was the serpent stuff? I mean, did you get to serpent? Anything in the serpent realm?
No.
Okay, well then I'm gonna go even deeper.
All right, hit me with it, dude.
First off, Christ.
Oh no shit!
There's a book I'm reading right now.
Let's go.
Called "The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross." I told you last week about it, maybe the week before.
Yeah.
It being an analog for mushrooms.
Super familiar.
If you plug in Christ for all this stuff, I feel like it is. It still works. Like if you plug in, that was one point. The other point was
instead of saying negative blood, you just say Christ blood.
It doesn't matter. That was one point. The second point was the God dang it. You do it every time.
I'm sorry.
What were you saying before?
I don't know. I talk too much, man. I don't even
When
listen
I
to
flipped
myself.
it earlier, you're like, you had a tangent. Do you remember what that tangent was?
I was gonna go on the presidents related to the
Presidents,
royal
yeah,
family.
No, I don't know. I just went down even further into it, saying that it was like
Serpents.
serpents. It was like a study of serpents, right?
Okay.
There was
I'm
stuff
here for
tying Christianity and Judaism back to serpents, like worshiping serpents and stuff like that.
Okay.
You didn't go down that far?
No.
It's the ancient alien stuff. So like serpents is just an analog for aliens and like reptile people and stuff like that.
Okay. And that prevails around the world. Obviously, the Mayans were pretty enamored with snakes.
Well, that was my thing. It's like, because their point was that every culture has serpents worship some format. Like they have ideas of serpents and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, they carved them into monuments.
But it's
they
globally.
they were at least enough of a symbol of a thing to be pretty important. So
Right.
maybe they're not worshiping serpents, but serpents means like something so important.
It's
they're gonna
deeply
put it on
tied
a
into their
giant
religion.
memorial. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was kind of the point, is that it's deeply tied into every single religion across, like, not every single religion, but across the entire world, right? You have references to a serpent.
Mm-hmm.
And that ties into the ancient alien stuff to me. Like, that's obviously easily analog to aliens and stuff like that. But the Graham Hancock stuff, to me, like, I was watching a video literally that was literally titled Ancient Aliens. And it was going through, like, the biblical stories saying if you replace God with aliens, everything holds true. It's just all... Yeah.
No, and it sounds a lot more like the Sumerians and the Anunnaki. And it's, like, pretty damn close, except the polytheism and the monotheism is slightly off.
I feel like I had a bias because I'm familiar with Graham Hancock that I switched serpent and aliens with comet.
Oh, okay.
And it completely still held up. Everything that they were saying that was prophesized by serpents, like, hey, you're going to have a bad crop season. If they saw Halley's Comet come across the sky and recognized that as like a 75-year period or whatever it is and said, hey, we're going to have a bad crop this season, that holds up to me. Like everything everything in the ancient religions that's referencing serpents to me is now very correlated with comets and their patterns.
Yeah. Well, and all of these cultures are very like integrally in tune with the stars above them to the point where they're building their complexes in order to
If you described a comet,
that.
it's 100% a serpent. Like
Yeah.
their only vocabulary at hand to describe what they're seeing in the sky at the time is like, hey, every 75 years you're going to see a serpent cross the sky. That means you got to plant your seed or do whatever, blah, 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 blah.
No, and exactly in the best way to count when the serpent is going to come back, to take the most predictable 2 days, the winter and summer solstice, where the sun is half and half, and build monuments around that. So it is the summer solstice.
Tomorrow.
So that's been one. Yeah.
The 21st is the winter solstice. So mark that tomorrow.
Yeah. And maybe there were so many cosmic occurrences that it necessitated having 2 different days that you could just perfectly match up with anything that's going on.
I only call that out because you got to Da Vinci Code. You got to, Christ's offspring, passing down this lineage of blood. And that's what the sacred bloodline, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
That's the only reason I'm connecting it, is because anything
if you analogize Christ as a serpent or as an alien, that story still functions.
Yeah. And it also ties in shrooms, which I'm always going to do.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's my tangents.
All right, so let's go with Drake's video on the presidential, or the presidents being related to YouTube's aliens.
I think I put
the
it.
YouTube link.
I think
The royal family. God, I'm sorry. I'm gonna shut the fuck up. Presidents related to the royal family. Pull that YouTube and to watch together.
Yeah, you need to dump that in there.
Or I can do it.
Yeah, you do it, because I don't know which link it is.
Okay. Mine's from Rumble.
Does
It's some
Rumble work?
old guy.
I can't play that in the group meeting. Watch meeting. Man, I haven't
Sure,
said group me in a while.
You can't play Rumble videos and watch together.
Maybe I could just Google it. What are you looking up?
Nah, because there's a timeline on it. I think Hang on, give me a second. I think I found Drake's link for him. Do. Is this the video, Drake? Milk? What the fuck?
What happened?
Nope, that's not it.
I didn't play a milk video, I promise.
I see that video, but that's not it.
Was it that lady talking? Is it this video?
Yeah, yes.
You have a timestamp?
I think it was like 3 minutes. Hold on, let me skip it. It says
Enjoy
3
it.
minute, 30 seconds. Here, I got it.
John Lachlan, and I'm not even going to try to say his
I'll
last
take care of
name.
it. Stop
He
pushing
was
shit.
a former king of England, and he actually signed the Magna Carta, which is very England, like to get away from that and to have freedom and blah, blah, blah. And it's so crazy that they're all related to this real family guy. It makes you wonder, like, is there ulterior motives? Are they controlling us? Is it like a gang we don't know about? Is it a club we don't know about? There's like so much room to speculate, and of course I have my own assumptions. Let me know down below if you think it's just a coincidence that they all have
Was
this rare
3:30
blood
correct?
type.
Was 3:30 correct?
I think so, but I swear she went into more of it. I just don't remember where it was because I was trying to like speed watch it because you can tell that she's kind of a lot to deal with.
Yeah. No, I think she just
some shit a minute ago. I don't remember where it was.
Really, really secretive. From just all those genetics,
It seemed like
testing,
she was
it's come
ending
to
her
find
thought.
out that all the American
Here we go.
presidents, except for one, are all related to John Lachlan, and I'm not even going to try to say his last name. But he was a former king of England, and he actually signed the Magna Carta, which is very
That's where it started.
interesting.
Yeah.
All the presidents.
yeah, Jeremy, go ahead and pull up my Rumble link and just play that on stream from
Where did you post it?
it's on the bottom of the first page of the outline from 252 to 403. Because she's right, but this guy explains how
Yeah, I was trying to get more deep
every
into
president up till Trump is actually like Trump and Clinton are related to the same guy. So the whole 2016 election still royal bloodline, which is
it. And I hear Obama and Bush are related.
yeah, I think that's right too.
That you're gonna have to provide something on that because that seems
I mean, I can't. It's just internet talk.
no, that doesn't do it. You can't just say they're related and they'll be like, oh, that's something I heard.
I didn't say this fucking fact. I just heard.
Hang on.
Well,
Obama
single
and
aspect.
President Bush are 10th cousins, once removed, linked
Bullshit. Where's that at?
by Samuel Hinckley of Cape Cod, who died in 1662.
Get fucked.
Just type, are George Bush and Obama related? Oh, here's the one right under it says they're second cousins.
Are
George Bush Sr. had a cousin who married a slave. Her maiden name was Obama. Her husband died. She decided to keep her. So they're even closer than that.
All right. So, see, I'm right, Jeremy. Don't ever question me again.
Is the Guardian a reputable source?
Yeah, of course. That's where I get all my news.
Who knows? Play that Rumble video.
I remember hearing about this that he might have possibly owned like
An ancestor. We're talking about the Bushes. They are shitty people, so I think we can say
the
Oh, was it
webpage.
the Bushes on slaves.
Bloodlines of
Fuck them.
American
Yeah,
presidents.
fuck the Bush family.
Then it is
And then when they
another
became
fact
president, they
that all
owned
the presidents that have
what is it, 70 million people in America?
have all been related.
Start that at
Media has to
252.
say, if all presidents are related, which of the 2017 candidates
And then go to
is the
403.
the same?
Or whenever you want to
Ready?
cut it off, just cut it off. I
So
can't.
it didn't really matter which one.
excuse me.
who won.
Here's 252.
This information comes from Burke's Peerage,
That's not in the watch together.
which is the Bible
Magna
of
Carta.
Never mind.
genealogy based in London. Every presidential election in America since and including George Washington in 1789 to Bill Clinton has been won by the candidate with the most British and French royal genes. Of the 42 presidents To Clinton, 33 have been related to 2 people, Alfred the Great, King of England, and Charlemagne, the most famous monarch of France. So it goes on. 19 of them are related to England's
Charlemagne is pretty crazy.
And has 2
I'm muted right now.
connections to Prince Charles. The same
There,
goes
you
for the
undid
leading
it.
families in America.
You were
George
talking over
Bush
the
and
video that you
Barbara
can't
Bush
hear.
are from the same bloodline.
I'm watching the stream.
I paused it. I think
All right, so
we heard the bulk of it. Yeah.
Yeah, similar bloodlines.
That blows my mind. I mean, Charlemagne is pretty significant biblically, right?
Yeah, even in modern culture, he does that podcast with Andrew Schultz. Charlemagne the God.
Charlemagne the God.
Well, wait a minute.
Except he's a fucking dick. Oh, sorry. Hope this didn't go viral. Or does it?
Do you not? If you saw him face to face, would you be like, hey, you're a dick?
Yes, because I have my own opinion on
What are you
that
worried
man.
about?
No, I'd be like, I want to know you a little bit better because you say some fucked up shit, but also I like people who say fucked up shit.
She said
He said some
Magna
weird
Carta.
shit.
Magma Carter. Is that a Pokemon?
No, it's that lady from Drake's video.
That's my bad, guys. I didn't even realize I put that in the fucking link.
So he signed the Magna Carta. I think it had something to do with lava.
Yeah,
I got deep into volcanoes.
I was trying to watch it earlier, and I was like, I kind of don't fucking like this video anymore.
You told me blood types. I ended on volcanoes. All right.
Peter.
So yeah, there's some.
That stuff is blowing my mind. That if you're trying to tie everything back to Christ, that there's presidents related to something that's related to Christ.
Well, and what's really interesting is that in the arc of tying it back to Christ, if we take our view of ancient Civ, which we do, in that the Bible is an allegory similar to those of the time around it, and even altered to be more so like it, like I think it's pretty certain that historically Jesus existed, but they're using the same stories to convey the same ideas, and all of these myths, religions, and tales of the past to kind of paint the same stories. So if you tie the negative blood type back into this universal allegory represented through the many religions and myths of the world, then you end back up in like, okay, we still don't know where RH blood is from. And now there's a story behind it that it comes not from here. And I think the more you tie up the loose ends and like relate them to each other, the more it really seems like it is not necessarily naturally human for that to happen. I mean, starting all the way at the story of evolution where we come from apes. Apes don't have negative blood. So that's an interesting leap that we have to take. In the function of our human corporeal form has to literally invent a new dichotomy of blood types.
You've been doing your word of the day, corporeal?
Corporeal.
You don't hear that drop very often. Do we need to Google it? I know what it is.
Doggy, I got some SAT words out the ass.
How do you spell it? I can't spell it.
CORPORIAL.
Jeremy, I was kind of thinking like your Illuminati stance of how it's like the going further back than just like when it was actually founded by like the Freemasons and all that. But
dude, I'm lending more credence to this. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're okay. But with like all these presidents being linked back to like Christ and like Tesla and all these fucking, I don't know, it's so crazy. It's hard to even talk about like how it could be all linked. Kind of how that annoying chick was saying, like, is there a plot? Is there a goal? It's like, yeah, what's the master plan behind this? How far does it go back? Yeah. Why is there such a royal bloodline? Like you're saying, so much incest and all that to keep their sacred blood. And are they the ones that are ruling the day at the end of the? Are they the ones that are ruling the world at the end of the day? You know.
Well, and the real problem with trying to tie it back and that far back. I mean, we've taken 11 episodes. JFK was relatively unrelated in social media.
I think they all tie in.
Yeah,
I mean,
all tie in.
Eventually, they all do, but our main through line of like everything is from the same thing. All these cultures restarted. They all have the same stories. There's the Akashic record. There's some shit we have literally no idea about, but people are receiving information. And then there's a resetting of culture, and there's a bunch of hidden stuff that doesn't necessarily come from what we can find yet, which likely means it's older. All that ties back in. But the second, I mean, it took us 11 episodes to explain that. And, you know, like, probably not the best. I think this is an entertaining podcast, but I'm definitely not the smartest person I've ever seen on the fucking internet. No. It took us 11 episodes. It should probably take 22, and you're still going to sound like a batshit crazy asshole at the end of them.
Dude, I don't look at it that way. I think of it as 11 different perspectives. Like, you went down 11 different pathways and all landed back on the same plausible outcome, is that there was an ancient civilization 10,000 years ago that was responsible for resetting civilization, and that's what is reflective in now today. And that's why I was saying negative is more prominent, because 10,000 years ago, that's the part that reset.
That's what it was, yeah.
I'm saying, like, they were the founding fathers of...
Yeah, that the mutations are like, we need some A
Christ
proteins.
Isn't Christ. He's the mechanism that was used to spread this information. And I think that's the book that I'm reading, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross.
Oh, yeah, no, I know where you're going now.
Is Christ is just an analog for something else that somebody had else tapped into. And there's evidence that the Christians were trying to wipe and suppress this information of their own religion. And it blows my mind.
Yeah, and so with you replacing a religious allegory with a historical event, like not knowing what the event is, it could be aliens, like that History Channel show, Ancient Aliens. It's probably fucking not. It's probably not aliens in that sense, because they're allowed to make an entire show out of it. If you're conspiratorially minded at all, if Ancient Aliens is 5% right, it's not on TV. So we'll follow down that track and go from Ancient Aliens to it could be mushrooms, because mushrooms are fungi specifically are as transformative as far as the history of the earth. We haven't really gone into this, but they're the first like organism, intelligence organism, multi-celled organism on the planet that spreads like wildfire, and it's been here since, and it's unlike anything else that's here
except us.
Yeah, except us. Mushrooms specifically, though, like not I'm not saying like the mushrooms you take and have a great day with. I'm talking like mushrooms in general, like
fungi.
The mycelium layer that you showed, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, 100%. So
what episode was that where you showed the mycelium layer compared to the universe and to the human synapses?
But we've done it
in the brain. That's what I mean. I don't mean like.
And that's what tied into the sacred geometry and all that stuff. Dude,
which we keep talking about.
No, that's what the point being, like, it all points in like one direction, and the more you try to like, hey, I'm gonna find something to counter this, and you play devil's advocate and try to like think of logic and reason to counter
or read a fucking allegory literally.
The more you look at this stuff, the more it's like, hey, that's true. Like, just it keeps pointing you in this one direction, and it's harder and harder to be like, hey, that doesn't scientifically add up, but that's where everything's pointing. Like, what do you do at that point?
Yeah.
I've had a lot of conversations with...
Well, and a lot of the things, like what we're talking about today with the Rh negative blood, the scientific consensus is we have no idea why it exists.
That blows my mind. Like, we should understand our anthropology as a species.
Right. And so, like, any idea is better than I don't have an idea. All of them are better. So if my idea... not saying it is, but is the royal bloodline idea, that is not less valid than I don't have an idea. I mean, you're at least applying historical context, whether you're doing it correctly or not.
No, 100%.
You're at least pontificating upon why we have negative blood types and apes are, essential ancestor do not. There's a leap that has to be made. Let's take all the guesses in the world.
Space sperm 100%
Space sperm.
Yeah. No, dude, if you told me that the stoned ape theory is directly tied to Rh negative blood and that the practice of monkeys moving into the fields and the savannas and eating mushrooms that make them psychoactively advance in their own brain quickly also led to like a spin-off blood type that was more attributable to all the monkeys around them,
which we've literally labeled as Christ.
Yeah. I mean, give me like one scientific little point that might point that way, and I'll go with you. That's fine, because there's not an explanation currently, and I like that one. So let's try and illuminate all the possible explanations. Because why fucking not?
I hate that it gets written off. It's just we sound like hippies or like no, just go Google this stuff and like follow the pathways and you end up here. I'm not.
Yeah.
I hate sounding like you're crazy or anything, but to me, it's just it's inevitable. Once you start looking into this stuff, like you get pointed in these directions.
Yeah, once I started like really kind of digging into some of the research I was doing on this, and it was leading me all the way back to the Anunnaki, I was just like, oh fuck, it's all tied together. Like I'm not just this crazy hippie that they talk about.
Yeah, well, and off the jump, the reason we did negative blood types is because we didn't have a natural through line past simulation theory, because who the fuck would? And so I went, hey, my wife wants us to look at Rh negative blood because she is, and she read a weird thing, and she has a card that she has to carry around because she had to get a shot. And so,
that's crazy.
Then you follow that through its through line, and you go, okay, there's not an answer. Here's a bunch of offshoot kind of ideas. Let's follow them to their nth degree, and it always all ties back into our ancient Civ conversation, or
Ancient aliens.
Or sacred geometry, like the theory of one, the
law of one.
Yeah, the Akashic record, back into sacred geometry, back into the ancient Civ, and they're building their whole culture around. Like almost everything we look at goes back to that, and that's crazy because I just explained how we got to Rh negative blood was.
No,
and it got back to what we've talked about several times, and that is eerie.
No, that's the point I was trying to make. Like, I feel like it's not 11 independent episodes. It's 11 independent perspectives that all led back to the same fundamental theory, that it all stems from the same source.
Yeah. Or that all these ancient stories are absolutely related. They're all talking about the same fucking thing. Let's figure out what the thing is. But at least from my perspective, outside of science, 100%. And you know what? I do some physics at work every day, so I won't say 100%. But so being outside of the norm of science, saying like, why is no one looking at this? Like Graham Hancock or Randall Carlson have been, or any other number of like legitimate, studied, educated people. Randall Carlson's I'm sorry.
He mentioned that
Graham Hancock's a bad example because he's just a journalist. But
he mentioned that in one of his hang on. He mentioned that in one of his episodes that they're not talking to each other. Like the geologists aren't talking to like the biology people. Like there's no communication between these departments. Study between like why is this happening? Why is this developing? And stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
so it takes a journalist like Graham Hancock or us going, hey, we're going to try and start an entertaining conspiracy podcast. And then 11 episodes in being like, hey, man, why is like literally every episode between 3 different people with 3 different perspectives talking about 11 different topics keep ending back where we like some of them were tangents off the last thing, but they all go back to the same basic ideas, which is crazy. And I think our next episode, we need to kind of outline what the future looks like. Like next week, we're not going to have an episode for the holidays, correct?
We're sub 10 minutes, yeah. So next week is the 27th. We're not having an episode because
we'll be off.
Is it between Christmas and New Year's? So that's our holiday.
Yeah, and then the week after, do we say the day?
January 3rd is Tuesday. Yeah,
it's going to be live. Like
We're
in person,
planning,
not all on the computer.
being all live together in one room and kind of doing a summary episode, which this felt very much like, and it's crazy to think, like we were given RH negative and then we kind of like came back to it anyways, but definitively the last episode, episode 12, if we're following sync of geometry, was the point, right?
Yeah.
12 is going to be a commentary summary episode of all 11 episodes prior to it, kind of bring it all back under the same umbrella, which I feel like we just did, but we'll kind of expound. Yeah,
we're gonna evolve the ideas we've been talking about for the last 10-15 minutes, and then like a chat Q&A, very interactive, low-key, let's talk about what we learned.
We're gonna be reaching out to you, some of you, for guest
appearances. Talk about what we like, that type of shit. What
be ready for that.
Oh yeah, what was JFK's blood type? All over the limo, I think is what it was called. I know.
Goddamn, that's spicy. Hear it first. Blood types and JFK.
Okay, so and that's going to happen the 3rd, same
January
bat time,
3rd.
same bat channel.
Season 1 finale.
Yes,
Season 1 finale.
Season 1 finale. January.
It's going to look
3rd.
an awful lot like Funny or like the Rolling Third, but it's going to be a full-on Funny No Theorios episode.
Have our merch and everything.
Oh yeah, doggy, we got to take some pictures and shit, right?
Yeah, we got to take some LSD too.
Pictures.
That's back of the house operations. We'll figure that out later. But yeah, that's all going to be fun. And I really liked this topic in that I think all three of us all week long went, what the fuck am I even supposed to look at?
Yes.
Like,
can I talk about it?
I'm just going to type RH negative in every fucking search box I find, dog. Like, what the hell does that mean?
I knew that was the subject, but I didn't include that specifically in anything I looked at.
That is interesting.
But it all pointed back to it.
Yeah, doggy, I took the dark, deep rabbit holes, so...
I feel like I was getting there with the O negative stuff, and I feel like it's circumvented back to my point. Not to my point, but...
No,
it's exactly to my point, right? Like, if you're saying... why were we even arguing? I was just arguing before we even got there. It's just, I don't know. We circled back to...
It was so hard for me to research, because when I first started looking, half of it was like medical shit on all, blood and
all about
blood and like
having a baby with RH negative blood.
And like all this shit, and I'm like, I don't know anything about any of this. Like,
and then you find the next best
because she's a nurse. Like,
then you hit the next best link, and it's Ancient Aliens, and they go, yeah, man, the Nephilim are weird, and you go, that is no information, you crazy haired bitch. Why does anyone watch this fucking show? You can find 30 YouTube videos better than aliens. You know?
Aliens.
But I believe it's aliens.
Yeah.
Ancient Aliens. I believe they live under our feet too.
It was hard to research, and it's crazy how. And you got to give some bias points towards the probability of us all kind of finding the same end in the same topics. But at some point, given that we are all somewhat interested in the resetting of society every 10,000 years or ancient civilizations in general, every topic maps onto that. All of them.
It 100% does. And like, to me, that stuff is like, it's not even up for debate. Like, Graham Hancock and Randall Carson are showing evidence of a 12,000 year cycle with that meteor shower, the triads, like that is mathematically fact that happens every 12,000 years as we go through the heavy part of this asteroid belt.
Well, and I watched a Randall Carlson live stream. You can follow him on YouTube, and he live streams, and it's boring unless you love it, and I love that dude, so it's not boring. Is it the
after-school special stuff?
No, it's worse. It's him at a computer and like three other guys that don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and then you're like, Randall Carlson said something.
Dude, you see him on like JRE and stuff, and he doesn't look rough, but like, I mean, he's got a beard and stuff. He's like, he's overweight and stuff, but like he looks a little bit presentable. No, I'm saying even on like his deeper in stuff, he like has like a full grown beard, no haircut, like Like,
he goes on JRE going, I can't look like a crazy guy in a basement.
but
And
he
goes
still
on the
comes off
wrestling
that
internet
way.
going, I'm a crazy guy in a basement.
Right.
But then on his personal stuff, he's even, it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. But he was talking about on that live stream, I was talking about that like a mainstream publication confirming that there were worldwide catastrophic biblical. Even in the article, it said these floods would have been of biblical proportions or something like that. And it's like, okay, now go one step further, please, because Randall Carlson already did. A meteor hit. What else creates water that much? And but that's one domino block in their direction, because they're so far ahead of like what is allowed to be said. So if one legitimate scientist in a legitimate publication is going, there's a lot of evidence for huge floods, I don't give a shit if it says Randall Carlson on it. I go, oh, Carlson got some points. They're moving. Because 30 years from now, they're gonna go, holy shit, Randall Carlson looked 20,000 years in the past and saw what happened, and we should all go back to literally everything he ever said. And that's a point of technology that I think people don't really necessarily understand. And that's like in Tesla and Einstein's day, they're writing shit on paper and they're only giving those people exactly what they thought. But in today, these really smart people are making like a daily record of what they're thinking of. And so that is part of the exponential factor behind technology, is that
that all points back to singularity too.
You're going to find everything Randall Carlson ever thought critically about on the internet.
No, I kind of lean that way too. And even with Graham Hancock, like he's focusing more on like the anthropology of like the human species. I feel like Randall Carlson is tapping into a layer above that, where there's some kind of perm spammy of like it's like he hasn't done it yet, but he's connecting dots between like a civilization that spans millions of years, where Graham Hancock is focusing on like tens of thousands of years. Like Randall Carson's tapping into the realms of like, hey, we could have been from another planet.
It's the nature of their professions or their
I get
interests.
It 100%, but like I don't know, I feel like I am on the verge of like grasping at some of this stuff, and they're like diving deep into the math and like how is it actually possible and all this stuff. I don't know.
Well, I'll bet $1 trillion, because by the time it happens, the dollar's gonna be, that's how you're gonna have to measure it, that by the time we all have white hair, we're the talk of the town, buddy. We're the talk of the town.
I hope, dude. I hope in
so.
20, 30 years, 50 years.
We're the ones saying, y'all should have listened to Randall. Look at what I saw on the internet.
I hope to God that that's the way it plays out. I've seen it probably more times. Historically speaking, those people lose out more often than not.
Yeah, just like the A's, the B's, and
If
the ABs.
anything, I'm saying that the people that were in charge of controlling information have gotten exponentially better in each iteration of it. And I'm going to say Bruno with saying the world wasn't flat and that we're part of a solar system, all that stuff. Like each step of the way, they've gotten exponentially better at what they do.
They have gotten better, but they're not. Their exponents aren't technology's exponents.
That might be our saving grace. Yeah, 100%.
The internet currently is breaking the culture and the mindset of the largest, most powerful country to ever be, in good and bad ways. Mind you, very bad. Like you can find some dog shit conspiracy, and I do, and I don't bring that shit here. Like
I think that's what I'm here, dude.
I'm adept at finding esoteric ideas on the internet, and I filter them for what seems even a little bit reasonable.
My counter to that is I feel like I think we're both very close to center, but I think we're on opposite sides of it. Is that fair?
Yeah, you're left of center, I'm right of center.
But we're both
I'm
very
an anarchist.
my point being is that I think you keep me grounded and I keep you grounded. So if you're withholding information from me, I don't think that's necessarily fair because you're not getting the other perspective.
No, it's because I don't bring it to you because obviously.
I want to hear it, dude. I want to be like, hey, like that, like for your sake even. Like I want to be like, hey, that is outlandish. Like let me try to get there. And then like your competition, not your competition, but your challenge should be to get me there, right? Your challenge is to get me off.
My challenge is to get you off?
Very nice.
Is that what you just said? No.
I think that's what
Listen. I dig surface level deep. And then I dig to where like I can buy what you're selling, but you seem dumb, so let me try to reinforce it. And then I dig like this is just some guy talking with no information.
I think that's the goal.
And I'm not gonna send that last link to anybody unless I think it's groundbreaking. That has to be like Randall Carlson before he was on Joe Rogan type shit for me to send it to you. And guess what? It never is. In the medium shit, I only send if I like second source it, even tangentially. But you know what? I digress.
We're gonna get Drake out of here.
Wait. Yeah, I can't wait till the next show when we all get to just do this the whole time. This is gonna be very fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let me get Flavor going so we could do some rollouts, some plugs.
Hey man, Pizza Parlor Pedophile Rings is an episode. We just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, right. That's just bad.
We got to be willing to get kicked off of everything but Rumble first.
All right, Drake, hit us with these plugs.
No, you're always first.
Am I always first? Hey.
Yeah, and you always fuck up the plugs for this channel specifically.
I'm playing Flavor, which is my best friend's band, one of my best friend's bands. But for me, personally, I do this show every Tuesday. If you haven't personally liked us on Twitter, not Twitter, Twitch, TWITICH. There's not an extra I in there, but we're on Twitch. Twitch every Tuesday at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. roughly. But we're here. I stream on BOC Molasses occasionally, video games. But do like us on YouTube, as well as if you've heard of something called Rumble, which I've never heard before, but we're on it apparently. Do that. Did I miss any other plugs for the show?
Twitter and Instagram, bro.
Twitter, we're on Twitter under Funny Nut Theorios. I think that's maybe the main source of information. I think I'm pretty active on Twitter through Funny Nut Theorios, not Molasses, but for Funny Nut Theorios, that's the main source. Twitter or Discord or Twitch.
Yeah, like, Discord. The Discord is Funny Nut Theorios. If you ask to be added, you will be added.
All right.
Become friends with any of us on Discord. Jeremy's BOC space Molasses. I'm BOC space Wasabi. Drake is Inked Beats like on everything. Drake.
All right, so yeah,
Flavor's still playing.
Cool. Yes, I'll start with that. So this is my band's latest single, Flavor. Check it out in your own time, and check out our other music too. We have a show this Friday. If y'all want to come out, all that info is on our band's social media. Don't forget to like it and help us out when you leave. Make sure you get merch through this, funnynuttheorios.com. And I stream on Twitch on Inked Beats. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, Inked Beats. Instagram has a underscore in between both words, but other than that, it's just Inked Beats. Other than that, I'm good.
And you can find all of our personal adjacent websites. Like if you go to Twitter, you'll find my Twitter, Drake's Twitter, Jeremy's Twitter, all that type of shit. But you can follow me at BOC Wasabi on Twitter, Reddit, Instagram. I don't update Instagram. I'm also on Twitch, and I don't update Twitch. My main focus is this show, obviously, and then Sundays at 8 p.m. at The Rolling Third on YouTube, all one word, The Rolling Third. This next episode is a it's kind of off season, so we're doing Monday at 7 p.m. Unless you're connected to Patreon, that'll be 5:30. Other than that, though, like and subscribe on YouTube or Rumble if you're there. Follow us on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Funny Not Theories.
Sweet, they just said UFO.
Also, follow Able Delilah on everything. I'm gonna re-plug everyone. I'm gonna go last every week. I'm gonna re-plug everyone. I'm gonna make sure everyone got what they needed.
Uh,
Y'all got a show? Did you shout out the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you?
It's this Friday. All that info is on my band's Instagram, my Instagram. You gotta go follow us to find it. And Able Delilah has merch too. AbleDelilah.com.
So does the Rolling Third. It's don't worry about it.
So much merch.
So does BOC. There's a link on my Twitch. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I can't hear y'all over the music.
We'll see you on the 3rd.
Peace.